On this episode of the Bowser Journal, we buy a new piece of farm equipment to help around. Come with us and see what it is. If you've been watching the channel for any length of time, you know that our primary mode of bringing stuff back to the homestead is a Jeep with a 4x7 foot trailer, which I paid $400 for. The trailer's been a great investment. We've had it for about 4 years now, and it is what we have definitely recouped our money from that trailer. But there has been some real limitations to the trailer. The trailer, one, couldn't hold a whole bunch of weight, and two, it was a 4x7. And a lot of times when we had to do kayaks or kind of loads, I had to put 2x4s across the top and strap everything down so we could haul stuff with the trailer. Another thing is the Jeep wasn't really good for hauling the grandboys. So we have 4 grandboys with one on the way, and 3 from one of our sons and 1 from our other daughter, and she's about ready to have another grandchild. Well, grandchild to me.
It's my first time driving the truck.
It's not a truck. It's the farm truck.
Okay.
So we need the ability to be able to not only haul materials for the homestead and the kayaks, but also to transport said passengers safely. So we started looking for a new truck. So we settled on looking for a crew cab, something that had at least 5 seatbelts, 6 preferably, but at least 5. And when we started looking at stuff for the homestead, I want something that's going to be heavy duty, that can haul a lot of weight. So I started looking at 3/4 ton or 1 ton pickup trucks. I ruled out Chevrolet and Dodge trucks. Not that they're bad trucks, it's just I happen to like the looks of Ford. Now you can have arguments over which truck's better than the other and which engine's better than the other. Every truck, every engine, every transmission combination has its strengths and its weaknesses. One of the things that I wanted was an absolute have was I wanted to make sure that it was a diesel engine, because diesels can go hundreds of thousand miles. There's one documented case of a Power Stroke going 800,000 miles. So I limited my search to between the years of 2003 and 2007 because I wanted the Ford Power Stroke 6.0. Now Ford had a couple different Power Stroke engines. They had a 7.3, they had a 6.0, and they had a couple after that. The 7.3 is bulletproof. I mean, it just goes and all day long, no problems whatever. Problem with the 7.3s, I didn't like the body style that those trucks came in. So I wanted something that had a little bit newer look to it, because I'm going to be having this thing for a long time. And I didn't want to have a 2008 or newer, because from what I read, the 6.4s had a lot of problems, and I didn't want anything that had any emissions on it, because I want to be able to try to get not good gas mileage, but better gas mileage than a diesel of the same size comparison as others. Now, before you start posting a whole bunch of comments below stating how bad the 6.0 is and how it had all kinds of problems, yes, it did have some problems. It had some problems with the injector cups, it had some problems with the oil cooler, it had some problems with head gaskets, had a problem with the EGR. A lot of trucks you can buy, especially if it was since I was buying used, you can either purchase them either what's called bulletproof, or you can buy a non-harassed engine and bulletproof yourself. Bulletproof means you just basically replace those components that are known to be that could go bad on a 6.0, and there's different levels of bulletproofing. So we've had this truck for about a week now, and the first thing I've already discovered was it has a huge fuel tank. I think it's about 40 gallons. It cost me $85 to fill it up the first time, and I'm almost down to empty right now, and I'll get ready to fill it up here soon, and I'm going to see what the gas mileage is. And I can tell just by the amount of miles I drove and it having a maximum of 400 gallon tank, it didn't get too bad of mileage for a truck this size. When I started my search, I started looking on Craigslist, Car Gurus, Carfax, looking for a truck for literally a couple hours every night. I probably test drove 10 or 12 of these trucks before I found this one, and I also test drove trucks in 2 different states. I was actually in a trip in Georgia, in Atlanta, and I happened to drive by a car dealership from the airport to where the hotel I was going to, and they had a couple F-350s there. I stopped and looked at them. They had a dually and a single tire single tire pickup truck. I drove both of them, and they were both okay trucks. Just it wasn't there. And you'll know when you're buying a used truck. You'll get that right feeling when you buy it, and we certainly got this. When Barbara and I went and looked at this one, we bought it from a dealership over in Ocala. It was J&M Affordable Auto. The dealership was owned by a lieutenant in the sheriff's department for that county, and so we went over there and met with them. We showed up. They closed at 6 p.m. We showed up at 5:40, and they let us test drive the vehicle, and we ended up buying it right on site. From the moment we purchased the truck till the time we walked out the door, we probably spent maybe 45 minutes to an hour, and we drove her home, and we like her. Now, there are some things I know that I don't have to fix on it right away. Like, number one, I don't know the access code for the door. Now, the dealership said I can go to the Ford dealership and get them to give that to you. They would hook in their tuner and stuff, but I found a way to actually look to see what the code is without actually having to do that. So I now know the code for the truck. Some challenges with this truck is because it's a F-350 crew cab long bed, not a short bed, long bed. Not that a short bed would be any better, but it might be a little bit better. This thing takes 3 zip codes to turn it around. It is a big truck, and I'm still getting used to driving. We went kayaking yesterday, and I pulled into a 7-Eleven because our normal tradition after going kayaking is to buy a couple Slurpees. It helps us cool off after being on the river. And we actually kayaked for 8.5 miles yesterday, so we were pretty hot. So I pulled into the 7-Eleven, and I pulled into the parking space, and because I pulled in, the passenger side, front tire and rear tire were sitting right on the line. And the poor guy next to us couldn't get into his car, and I felt bad. I told him, look, I apologize, it's a new truck. I'm still getting used to driving it, so I pulled it back out and moved it over so he was able to get in his truck. And I'm used to having the Jeep where we can just, the Jeep, the U-turn radius on the Jeep, you could turn a Jeep around on a dime and give people change. That's how nimble Jeeps are. And since we've been driving the Jeep since 2010, I've kind of gotten used to driving that all the time. This truck is not the Jeep when it comes to making U-turns. In fact, the very first time I did a U-turn with it, I took my daughter over to Orlando to look at an RV, and I was doing a U-turn. I had 2 lanes on the southbound lanes of the highway. It took more than 2 lanes to turn this thing around. Thank God there was no cars coming. We have already come up with a name for the truck. The truck is painted blue. So my wife and I kind of came up with a name together. I wanted to call her Baloo, like from the kids movie, which I can't remember the name off the top of my head. And she tacked on big, so we call her Big Baloo because she's big and she's blue. This truck is even taller than the front gate to my house. So when you pull in, the hood actually is taller than the gate is. It's kind of funny. So until next time, live your own story.